Slam dunk. Mid, isn't it? Yo, what's up guys? It's me, Jake here. Today we're going to be talking about Slam Dunk, a series that I fell in love with in the time that I was gone from making YouTube videos. But before I get into that, I want to know a sports series that you've read recently, whether you love it, whether you hate it. I want to hear about a sports series that you read. And just leave me a review down there. I don't know, maybe you'll put me on some peak and maybe I'll make a video about it in the future. Who knows? But let's just get straight into the video. Now, I know Slam Dunk is massive, and a majority of you have probably already read it or heard of it. There's still a majority of people that have not actually heard of it or even read it because they want to own it physically. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a synopsis before we actually get into my actual full-on review on it. So if you want to skip it, there's timestamps down below like always. So if you want to skip the synopsis part, you can, but I recommend hearing this out. In Slam Dunk, we follow Hanamichi Sakuragi, a man who is a delinquent and is terrible with getting girls. He's tried 50 times and has got rejected every single time. And the last girl that rejected him said she wanted a basketball player, so he hated the sport of basketball until he gets into high school and he meets the girl of his dreams, Haruko. And when he meets Haruko, she's not afraid of him like every other girl. But she's into basketball, guys, so he says he's a basketball player, and a very good one at that. So then he goes and tries to join the basketball team and become an actual basketball player to actually get this girl. And that is just basically the plot of Slam Dunk. If you've never heard it, or if you never watched it, or if you never read it, there you are. It's a quick little synopsis for you to kind of understand what the story is about. But for me, I don't think the story is really the full-on driving point of Slam Dunk. I think it is the cast. I think the characters are really the driving point of this manga. I think if you're reading Slam Dunk, it's mainly because the characters are dragging you in and enticing you and actually engaging you into reading it, because these characters are one of my favorite casts in a sports series, and how they did it, I loved. They took time, they built upon these characters, and they took about like 6 to 7 volumes to actually get the full basketball team, which I think is a very, very good thing to do. But of course, nowadays in manga, they don't give that time to build these characters. A lot of the time in these newer sports series, like Nine Dragons Ball Parade, they were trying to do something similar, where they were taking a couple chapters to build up each player, but they got axed because they didn't want to give them that time to actually build that baseball team. But in Slam Dunk, because it came out in the time it did, they were able to give it that time. And I feel like, of course, it also probably was selling very well, because it's still a very good manga within the first 7 volumes, so wouldn't be surprised if it was selling fantastically still. But these characters were built up, and they make you love the story and love every single thing about them. Characters like Miyagi, like Hitsui, like Akagi, like Rukawa, they are amazing, and their dynamics together are something that is very, very fun to see. The rivalry between Rukawa and Sakuragi is one of my favorite things, because it's very one-sided, but Sakuragi always says he's the phenom, and like stuff like that. Like, all their interactions are so fun to read, and it really drags you in to make you read more and more and more and more and more. Like, by the time I actually got to volume 7 and 8, after that, I finished this whole series in like 4 days, which is crazy because it's 31 volumes. But I was reading like 7 volumes a day for the last 3 days, because 3 to 4 days, because it's just that good. You just keep wanting to read more, to see more about these characters, and it's such a fun read because these characters make it fun. So I think that this is probably a top 5 to top 10 sportscast. Not even just sportscasts, just casts I've read. I just love their dynamic, and I think it is a very, very fun thing to read.
Okay, I like it. Picasso.
Now, the art. It's Takehiko Inoue. Of course, the first couple volumes, I'll show some panels here. The first couple volumes are not peak Takehiko Inoue. They're not vagabond Takehiko Inoue. They're not late Slam Dunk Takehiko Inoue, or even real Takehiko Inoue. They're just kind of generic, kind of early 2000s, late 90s sports manga panels and art. But once you get to like volume 10 to 15, this is really where it picks up. It's one of those series that it evolves like that, the art. Just like Bleach did in my eyes. I feel like Bleach's art really exploded during the Soul Society arc. Before it, it was good. It was still good, but it was more of like, kind of like your typical shonen art. Then once it got to the Soul Society, that's when Tite Kubo just went off. And I think it was the same thing with Slam Dunk. I think Takehiko Inoue was just kind of generic in the beginning, but then once it ramped up, and even at the end, it was like peak Takehiko Inoue. Like, the art for this series just got so good so quick, it was kind of hard to like recognize at first. But I mean, he's just amazing. I don't know how he can draw stuff like this because it is just phenomenal. And I need to read more Takehiko Inoue stuff because I love his art style. I've read Vagabond, but I've only read the first volume, like Visbig. I mean, not like single, but I've read the first Visbig, and I thought it was good. But of course, there's still 12 more Visbigs. It could get way better. But yeah, I love his art. I think it's one of the best art styles. Of course, he doesn't really drop much anymore. He just kind of, here's a chapter of reel, like twice every like couple months. So like, kind of makes sense, but like his art is just that good. So I'm fine with it. But my overall thoughts on Slam Dunk. I think that this is actually one of my top 5 to top 10 mangas ever at this point in time. I read it and I didn't really expect it to get to that level. I was expecting it to be like a high 8 in terms of ratings, but this blew me away. It just blew my expectations out of the water. Didn't really know what I was expecting, and I got like a 9.5 to a 10 out of it. Like, truthfully, I don't see a sports manga that's better than this outside of Awashi. I know I'm still an Awashi stan, but this is definitely, by far and away, the best basketball series we're ever going to get. I don't think that we can get a basketball series better, because I feel like Takehiko Inoue also describes a lot of rules and stuff very in like small panels. It's not like he's like, okay, here's a whole page explaining a travel. Like, it's not like that, but he'll have like a little note on this bottom, like, this is a travel, this is what it is. Stuff like that. Like, it teaches you basketball, and I don't think basketball is big enough in Japan, truthfully, to get another mangaka to actually be interested enough to actually learn all the rules of basketball and learn all the things that Takehiko Inoue talks about in Slam Dunk. And of course, if we're going off modern basketball, it's not like the most modern basketball manga because there's not everyone shooting threes, but like, it's still phenomenal even to this day, even if you're considering modern basketball play. I mean, it is just a amazing manga. I've not read many manga better than it. Of course, there is a manga that I read that I might put on par, maybe even better than it recently too. That will also get a review soon, don't worry. I'll talk about that later. But this, you have to read it. Now, of course, if you're trying to read it physically, that can be kind of annoying, because if you don't have many shelves, I'll admit, I'm spoiled. I've been collecting for years upon years, and I have a lot of shelves. I have a lot of manga because of it. But Slam Dunk is 31 volumes, and that takes up about like 2/3 of a Billy shelf for IKEA. If you don't know, like, these shelves carry about like 42 to 43 volumes per shelf like this. Of course, mine's a little bit more because I have the double stack, but these will carry 43 volumes. That's almost the whole shelf. So if you don't have that much room, it's going to take up a lot of room for you, if I'm being real. But also, it's also going to be quite expensive because it's 31 volumes. Like, if you get it for retail, it's still $310, which is quite outrageous. I got a lot of these in lots on eBay, so I got probably a little bit under retail. But of course, if it's out of stock, these volumes can go crazy because it's so popular. And Viz sometimes just leaves it out of stock. Sometimes, like during COVID, and some of these volumes were going for like $30 to $40. It's just kind of ridiculous, but like, it's just how it goes sometimes. It's just the stocking is bad sometimes. So hopefully these are in stock. I don't know how it is more recently, but if these are in stock and you have the money and you have the space, pick this manga up. It is phenomenal. You will not regret it. This is some of the best manga you'll read. I think that the art just gets so much better. Like I said, the characters are amazing. The story, of course, you're not there for the story, but the games themselves and the story itself is phenomenal. Like, it is actually still great. Of course, like I said, I was in it for the characters, but if you're not in it for the characters, you're still going to be reading it for the story. The games are still fun and great. Like, you're not going to be like, oh, this is boring, this game is terrible, I'm going to stop reading it. My only problem is there's not many. There's like 6 games in the whole series, I think, maybe even less than that. But even that, like, it's so good. He paces these games perfectly. It feels like it would be around the same timeline. He doesn't, like, take a lot out of games. Of course, Sakuragi doesn't instantly start, but, like, it is super fun to see Hanamichi Sakuragi's perspective on the game of basketball after not playing it ever and instantly being thrown into a decent team with Rukawa, who's a phenomenal player. Like, it's just great. I don't know what else to tell you guys. But if you have the room, you have the money, and you have the time to read it, read Slam Dunk and buy Slam Dunk. It is phenomenal, and I know you will just never regret that. So that's all I have to say about Slam Dunk. It is amazing. Truthfully, I don't think there's any sports manga outside of Awashi, which I still tell you guys to read every single time I can. And also, we need physicals for Awashi. Please, like Viz, I think it is a Jump series, so please, Viz, please, just drop Awashi for us. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's ending in 2 volumes. It's ending on volume 40. Just make 3-in-1s. Just give us like 11 3-in-1s and then like a single or something. I don't know. Just, it would be 13. My math is so wrong there, just thinking about that. But just drop Awashi, please, okay? But like I said earlier, leave a comment down below for what sports series you've read recently, whether you hate it, whether you love it. I want to know what sports series you've read recently. Leave a mini review. Maybe I'll read the series. Maybe you'll put me on a peek, and maybe I'll make a video about it. But that should be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope I see you guys next time. Peace!